When you start hunting for a 3D printer on a budget, the first thing you'll notice is that most of the cheap models have an open frame design that feels more like a hobby kit than a reliable workhorse. They can wobble when you try to push the print speed, the nozzle drifts, and you end up with layer shifting that turns a promising prototype into a rough draft. And if you ever wanted a model with more than a single filament color, those low-cost machines usually give you a single color output, or a clunky, unreliable filament mixing system that never quite matches the designer's vision. That's where the Creality K2 Pro Combo steps in, offering a full enclosed chassis, multi-color capability, and a build volume that actually lets you create the parts you imagined, not just the tiny test pieces. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The K2 Pro Combo is built around a fully enclosed structure, which means the printing environment stays consistent even if your workshop temperature swings. That stability translates directly into smoother surfaces and fewer failed prints, so you spend less time troubleshooting and more time iterating on your designs. The enclosure also helps with safety. There's less chance of accidental burns or fumes drifting into your room, something the open-frame printers rarely address. One of the biggest practical benefits is the printer's ability to push up to 600 mm per second without sacrificing accuracy. For someone who prints functional prototypes or small batch parts, that speed cuts down production time dramatically. Imagine you're a maker who needs to print dozens of custom brackets for a robotics project. You can crank the speed up, finish the batch in a couple of hours, and still retain the dimensional fidelity you need for the pieces to fit together on the first try. The other standout feature is the 16-color printing support. Instead of spending hours post-processing a model in a paint booth, you can load up to 16 different filaments and let the printer blend them on the fly. This is a real time saver if you're creating visual prototypes, architectural models, or even educational pieces that benefit from color differentiation. I've seen designers use this to produce a single-piece map with topographical shading, something that would normally require multiple prints and a lot of manual painting. The build volume of 300 by 300 by 300 mm is another game-changer, especially if you've been limited to the 150 mm cubes you get from entry-level machines. With that extra space, you can print things like a full-size drone frame or a large decorative object in one go, avoiding the hassle of stitching together smaller pieces. For hobbyists who love to print figurines, the bigger area lets you stack several models on the same print bed, increasing throughput without the need for additional hardware. Setup is surprisingly straightforward. The K2 Pro Combo comes in a compact box with clear instructions, and the bed leveling process is guided by an intuitive touchscreen menu. I was able to get the machine up and running in under an hour, which is a relief compared to the days some DIY kits can take. The touchscreen interface also makes it easy to switch between speeds, colors, and filament types on the fly, so you don't need to be a programming expert to get the most out of the printer. Material compatibility is broader than you might expect. The enclosed hot chamber can handle PLA, ABS, PETG, and even some flexible filaments without the usual warping problems. This means you can pick the material that best fits your project's strength or flexibility requirements, from sturdy structural parts to flexible hinges, without needing a separate printer for each filament type. When it comes to reliability, the K2 Pro Combo feels solid enough that I can leave a print running overnight and wake up to a finished piece rather than a pile of filament jam. The dual extruder system, combined with the enclosed environment, reduces the odds of filament clogging and keeps the nozzle temperature consistent, which is especially important for those longer, high-resolution prints. Now, talking about the pros and cons in plain terms, I'd say the biggest advantages are the stability that the enclosure provides, the ability to print in multiple colors without additional post-processing, and the generous build volume that lets you tackle larger projects. On the downside, the machine's size means you'll need a dedicated workspace. It isn't exactly a tabletop device. Also, while the speed is impressive, you'll still need to fine-tune slicer settings to get the best surface.